Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I want to talk to you guys today about something that I'm kind of curious your thoughts on, but I want to have a conversation with you around what might be the difference between false truths and true truths. That's kind of a hard thing for me to even say, but true truths. There is a lot of people fighting for their side right now. There's a lot of people wanting to be understood, wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard. And I think if I'm going to kind of show what I mean by this, but I think it's a lot of people fighting for their false truths. And what I mean by that is false truths are they have limits. It's not things that everybody would agree upon. Now, I know there's not a lot of truths out there that everybody would agree upon, but I think the way that we would be able to distinguish the difference between the two is, for one, it's a universal truth, and I'll tell you kind of what I mean by that, but it has a feeling associated with it that helps us to understand what is true. There's a lot of people fighting for their false truths right now, fighting for their side, their opinion, for their interpretation of things. And I see this especially in coaching, I can see this because people are wanting to be right. And again, I get it. I want to be right all the time, but when we are arguing, we are being defensive. It's us arguing for false truths. And I think it leaves us stuck. It leaves us in this really closed place. And I want to share with you guys what I want to help us embody a little bit more of is my interpretation of true truths. And I think everybody can maybe have some differences with this. So I know that makes it a little bit of a nuance of like, well, then how is it a true truth? But again, the feeling that comes from it helps me to know that it's a true truth. And when I can be more in that place, I show up differently. So let me just give an example of this just really quickly. And I've talked about this many times here on the podcast. My kids have struggled this year, and this week has not been very much different for that. I have several kids where they are struggling with friendships and feeling very unseen, very ununderstood, feeling just very sad, very lonely in school, and they want people to understand them. And I get it. I totally get it. And as a mom, I sit back and I'm just like, why are people this way? And I can tell you the logical things of like, well, hurt people, or, there must be something going on for them in their lives. And I can say it very flippantly, but when I can really sit back and I can sit with these true truths, it helps me to not condone behavior and not say that it's an easy struggle for my kids to go through, but I have a little bit more compassion and love for the situation. And I have a different perspective helping my kids and supporting my kids as I go through this. And I can see this in so many areas. Like if we are looking at money situations or relationships or our health, when we are in false truths, I see us in a lot of dead ends, asking, why is this happening to me? Or trying to convince that you're right, that nothing ever works out, or that you'll never make enough money, or whatever it is, it leads us to being in this stuck dead end place. And so I want to give you guys some true truths that I want you guys to just test and to feel and to practice embodying and see if you were to practice and fight more for these true truths, what might be different in your life. And I hope that you guys will actually listen to this maybe on repeat and use this maybe as a daily for a little bit and let yourself see what would be different if you did it from that place. So here's the first true truth that I would love to offer to you. You are loved. That is a true truth. You are loved. You are loved inherently, unconditionally. You are loved. And I think the part of me sometimes wants to come up and fight against that and say, like, well, how do I know that? Or who? Or, wants to ask all those classic questions with it. But if you let yourself just sit there and just let your heart speak to you, because I think that's the difference here, is letting your heart speak and say, like, okay, when I am embodying this place of you are loved from the heart, how does it feel? If I let myself sit there, man, there's this like burning, there's this overwhelming love that I feel. And I don't need an answer to it. It feels good. It feels right. It feels true. So I want you just to feel that you are loved. And the other true truth there is that I am loved. So you can see how this could work with other people. It's like seeing other people and saying, like, you are loved and I am loved. That is a true truth. You are loved inherently. You are loved. And what would be different if you fought for that instead of thinking that you're not? Because that's a false truth. A false truth is that you're not loved, that you're not understood. Another one that I want to offer to you is that a true truth would be that God understands you, God hears you. And the false truth is that you need other people to understand you, that you need other people to hear you, to be able to see you in that way. And if we can start to operate from a place of like, no, God hears you, God understands you, God sees you, what is different? And again, I'm not saying that there's not going to be that loneliness and there's not going to be that desire to have other people, but we get so busy trying to fix everything on the outside to try and make peace with what's going on the inside. And if we can just apply again to from our heart that God loves you, God sees you, God understands you, what is different in the situations that maybe you are going through right now? Another one is that you are love. That is a true truth. You are love. I want you to just embody that for a second. Not that you are loved, and you totally are, but what if you are love? And I think of it, the picture that comes to my mind is the Grinch, and the Grinch in his heart grew, whatever it was, 10 times or whatever it was. That's you, inherently you. You are love. All the other things are just false parts of you. That resentment, that anger, those are all false truths. It doesn't mean we don't need to acknowledge them, but they are passing. What is a constant, what is limitless, what is ever there is that you are love. And what is different from that place? Another truth, a true truth that I want you to practice embodying is that you are free now. Our false truths, the part of us that, wants to question that is constantly thinking it's contingent on exterior things that, oh, well, I'm free when I have more money, or I'm free when I have this relationship, or I'm free when I have this health. And what would be different if we worked from, believed, embodied that you are free now? And so the situations that you're working through and again, I'm not saying that we don't take action, but if we operated from a place of like, you are free now, what solutions come to your mind? How differently do you show up and how differently do you approach things if you come from the place of already being free and not contingent on things needing to make you free? It's a totally different place. Another true truth kind of goes back to something that I was mentioning a little bit earlier, but is that other people have just forgotten that they are loved. So when I see people that are saying things or treating people in a certain way, I can look at them with a little bit more compassion and understanding and even unconditional love, because bummer for them, they have forgotten. They have forgotten that they are loved. And not that I'm trying to condone anything that they're doing or trying to fix them or even trying to convince them that they are loved, but it's just I have a little bit more love for them. That, man, that's a hard place to be, that they have forgotten that they are loved. And to me, that's a true truth. There's so many people that have forgotten that right now. That's why they are operating from so much fear and scarcity, is because they have forgotten that. They are needing everybody else to try and solve that for themselves. Another true truth that I want you to practice and to embody is that everything is on target. Everything is perfect. And I know I have pushback with that, especially when I talk about, my kids going through their situation right now. My brain wants to push back and it's like, that's not perfect. There's struggle there. But that's the false truth that's coming up and saying that it needs to be fixed, that this isn't right. That's me, resisting the reality of what is. If I can sit with this place of like, everything is on target, everything is okay in this moment, then life seems to unfold differently. I live this life, not the life that I think I should be living, but I live the life that is presented to me right now. And I can help my kids live and learn from the life that they are being presented right now. The true truth is that everything is okay right now. The false truth wants to argue with that. And the false truth is what creates all the problems for us. And again, that doesn't mean we don't want to look at and try and create different circumstances or make more money or make friends. But when we're doing it from a place of arguing for those false truths, we become so different. If we can operate from like, everything is okay right now, everything is on target right now, then how differently do you approach those different things? And I would just offer I come from a completely different place when I'm coming from a place of like, everything is okay right now. We've got to stop fighting for the false truths, because those false truths, they pass. I think of like emotions too, that this totally is relevant to this. Love is constant. It's there. Your heart is love. I love to tell that to my clients when we're working on getting to know our heart a little bit more. Your heart is love. It's there all of the time. We sometimes put false truths in front of it, but love is there all the time. So it doesn't mean we don't need to acknowledge those other things, those resentment, that fear, that scared, that whatever else is coming up. But those are passing. Love is constant and helping us to, maybe embody more of those constant things, that you are loved, that God understands you, that everything is okay, that you are love. What would be different in our lives if we operated from more of those true truths rather than the false truths that are just passing on by? True truths are timeless. They are constant. They are there all of the time. When you fight for those other false truths, you are leaving the true truths. They're still there. It's like a light that's on. False truths are just basically just closing our eyes. So the true truths they're always there. But when we are so focused on the false truths, we leave our ability to see those true truths. So we have to practice coming back to that. We have to practice embodying this. So even right now, as I think about this with my kids and their situations that they're going through, if I can practice, I am love. They are loved. Everything is right on track. God hears me. And if that's true, then God hears them too. God knows their thoughts. God knows their mind. God knows their, struggles that they're going through. If that's true, and I'm not getting into resistance of like everything should be different now, I have a little bit more empathy. I have a little bit more compassion. I have a little bit more peace and understanding. And I can open the lens to like, what lesson needs to come through me then? What lesson needs to come through them? What is unfolding right now that because I'm in resistance and I'm living in false truths, I'm not able to see. I'm curious for you, do these false truths, can you recognize them if you see it from this place? The stories that you're living by, can you see them as false truths? Now, again, we're not saying that they're invalid or that we don't need to do anything with them. I don't want you to get to the place of resisting the false truth. Again, we need to acknowledge them. But being able to call them out for what they are is that a false truth is just a story that I've been choosing, that it can help us to easily get back to those true truths and help us to see that we are loved, that everything is okay exactly the way that it is. I think we need more of this right now. I think we need to be able to see the true truths that have been here forever. We've just forgotten it. We've been living more and fighting more for our false truths. You are not your trauma. You are not your past. You are not this moment. You are not the future. You are not your emotions. You are not any of those things that your brain wants to falsely tell you you are. I'm curious how you would answer if you are living more from your true truths. How would you answer who you are? And let's work on building that and operating from that place, not from a place of fear, but from abundance and love and just clarity of like, you know what? I am amazing. I am whole. I am complete. And I'm putting language to something that I don't think I can even really put language to. Maybe you guys have experienced that as well, but I just want you guys to play around with that. If you are not your false truths, then who are you? And practice embodying that unconditional love and what might be different in the situations that you are going through. Think about the struggles that you are going through, whether it is money, whether it is your business, whether it is a relationship, whether it is an emotion that you're going through. If you can recognize the false truths, but yet apply, practice, embody those true truths, what would be different and how would you approach those situations differently? I'm curious for you. Would you add any other different true truths to this list? Again, these are mine. I'm going to choose to practice them and see what would be different. But I would love to hear from you. And again, it's all based off of the feeling that we have. So I'm curious for you. What are your true truths? I'll talk to you guys next week.